Malcolm-Jamal Warner is gone. The official reports say one thing, but the streets tell a different story. From the moment news broke, people have been doubting everything, from how fast the autopsy came back to the whispers about where his wife was when it all happened. And if you think that's just harmless gossip, think again. These details are fueling theories that just won't quit. But are they onto something? Let's find out. Maybe by the end of this, you might not look at the official story the same way.
It was Martin, Malcolm, Huey, Alvin, Marcus, Richard, Jesse, Adam, Carlin, Gordon, James, Philip, Nat. Showed them not to play.
Y'all, we are pulling it all together. We will go from the fans who are flat out calling the timeline suspicious, to the friends who knew him as more than just Theo Huxtable, to the raw emotions of his mother's heartbreaking tribute. This isn't just about rumors. It's about the gap between what's being said and what's being felt.
But just wanted to remind you, as I remind myself, that no matter what's going on, there's always a reason to smile. Like, if you just take a minute to stop and take stock, I guarantee you can find at least one reason to smile.
As expected, the reports surrounding Warner's demise were conflicting, watching someone pass before you being a chaotic moment and all. But the weak witness statements weren't the only source of suspicion. Other details also stoked the flames of doubt, like all lifeguards being off duty on a Sunday afternoon, when people are more likely to be on the beach. But even without official lifeguards, where were the other people? A popular beach like that should have been packed, but not one soul was close enough to intervene.
Mike Geist helps run a volunteer lifeguard organization here. He says while no lifeguards were on duty that day, Geist's friend, who happens to be a trained lifeguard, was there to surf and discovered Warner unresponsive in the water.
And if that was not enough, then came the conflicting reports. First, he was with his daughter. Then, he was with a friend. The friend, the story claimed, was also swept away by the current but managed to escape. Malcolm, however, a known strong swimmer, could not. Oh, and get this, 3 doctors just happened to be on vacation nearby. 3, they saved the friend, but they couldn't save Malcolm. To the doubters, it was a story so riddled with holes you could drive a truck through it. The math simply wasn't mathing. Although the official reports clearly mention another man being pulled by the same current, which limits the possibility of foul play, the details of who those others were and why they were so lucky were seen to be suspiciously absent, leading several people to believe this was no tragic accident, but a well-planned hit and a cautionary tale for anyone who dares to rock the boat.
Costa Rica's Red Cross says they were able to rescue another man alive who was taken to a clinic in critical condition.
Just when you start thinking that is the end of it, singer Jaguar Wright entered the chat, alleging this was no accident. She claimed Malcolm's drink was spiked with a powerful that caused hallucinations, and then he was led into the water and left to drown. The beach was the perfect place, a chaotic, dangerous setting where a passing could easily be blamed on the unforgiving power of the ocean.
Like I said, I knew Malcolm. He was very healthy. He was always in great shape. He was a strong swimmer. I do not see him putting himself in a position where he would have been gotten, overtaken.
Jaguar's allegations didn't stop there. She claimed Malcolm had been a marked man for a long time, followed, and even had break-ins at his home. He knew he was being watched, she said, but on that fateful day, his wife was conveniently back at the hotel. The most chilling detail of all is that both Malcolm's and his wife's phones went missing. Why? Because according to Jaguar, the last message on Malcolm's phone was a voice note from his wife, warning him about strange faces staring up at their hotel balcony.
I didn't see anybody talking about that. Not at all. And it's wild because the second that I heard about it, I knew it was wrong. I felt it in my bones. I felt like he had been taken.
And there are even more dots for those who found his end suspicious to join, as Malcolm-Jamal Warner was a man who had dared to step out of line. He spoke out against the dark underbelly of Hollywood and refused to wear the dress, a phrase for surrendering to the demanding rituals of the industry. He was a man who wanted to change the narrative of his community, and for that, some believe he became a threat to those whom he spoke against.
Unfortunately, the success of hip-hop is predicated upon being anti-Black.
Explain.
And just like that, the story of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death became a complex one, filled with conflicting reports and a sense of public disbelief. While the initial news outlets reported a tragic and accidental drowning, a closer look at the details provided some observers with a suspicious narrative. Only a day later, the Costa Rican Judicial Investigation Agency, OIJ, officially confirmed the cause of death as asphyxiation by submersion, which is consistent with drowning. However, the exact circumstances leading to this event are still a source of significant speculation, leading others to question the pace at which the autopsy was performed and reported, as they found it oddly fast. Though it is possible the authorities might have been aware of the speculations and put a rush on Malcolm's autopsy to put other tourists' minds at ease. Some observers felt the results were rushed. The Costa Rican Judicial Investigation Agency could not simply leave it to the public's opinion on whatever they think happened on that beach. Imagine how bad it would have been without them releasing the autopsy almost immediately. Mind you, nearly all the speculations and theories came after the official report had been released. Despite the early and direct tackling of the matter by the Costa Rican authorities, the theory that Warner was a target and that his death was a deliberate act has gained traction online. These claims, while not supported by official reports, are fueled by the public's perception of Warner as a principled and outspoken figure in an industry often seen as ruthless and unforgiving. His recent podcast, Nah, Not All Hood, which aimed to challenge harmful stereotypes, is largely cited as a potential motive for foul play.
The first thing that they do is they bring him to the surface and give the emergency respirations
Right there
in the water on the surfboard.
Let alone the fact that a full CPR effort was made on the beach for an extended period, but ultimately failed, adding to the public's sense of unease.
And when he didn't respond to that, my friend rapidly took him into the beach and they immediately began CPR.
Ultimately, the official narrative is that Malcolm-Jamal Warner died from an accidental drowning in a well-known rip current at a popular but dangerous beach. While this is the legal and scientific conclusion, the public conversation surrounding his death is and will seemingly remain far more layered. This is a testament to his legacy and the impact he had on people's lives that so many are unwilling to accept a simple, tragic accident. The conflicting details, the public's perception of the man himself, and the allegations from figures like Jaguar Wright have all contributed to a story that, for many, remains unresolved.
Duke, Langston, Thurgood, Robert, Hank, Jesse, Jackie, Muhammad, Paul, Stokely, Mega, Webb, about 3 Benjamins.
And before we jump to conclusions, we can't ignore the people who truly knew Malcolm, the ones who could cut through all the conspiracy chatter, because they weren't guessing, they were living alongside him. Nearly 3 weeks after his passing, his mother, Pamela Warner, finally broke her silence. And the way she spoke about her son was raw and honest, as her heartfelt tribute hit hard. She didn't just call him her son, she called him her teacher, her coach, her confidant, her business partner, and her best friend. The love wasn't subtle, it was woven into every word. Pamela made it clear that Malcolm was a man deeply in love with life, his wife, and his daughter, stating that he was indeed an exceptional husband, father, and son, whose heart beat for humanity. He wasn't just chasing fame, but was chasing transformation, helping people realize their own inner strength. She reminded everyone that he was more than an actor. Yes, he made Theo Huxtable a household name, but he was also a poet, a bassist who formed his own band, and a Grammy-winning musician. He was the kind of artist who started late in one craft, but still mastered it. Proof that true talent and pure drive don't check your birth certificate before showing up. Pamela went on to share something hauntingly poetic, that her son was birthed through water and transitioned through water. She said this was his time, that his mission was complete, and most importantly, that he did not suffer. That's the kind of closure only a mother could give. And while Hollywood chatter swirled about foul play, Pamela's message carried something heavier, her son resting in peace. It wasn't about crime scenes or scandals. It was about cherishing the part of Malcolm that touched you, holding it close, and letting it nourish her and others close to Malcolm. But of course, the conversation didn't stop there. Some fans couldn't shake what they saw as red flags. One person wrote, "After his death, that was the quickest autopsy I've ever seen done for a celebrity. Ever. Too many different stories. It was too quick. That in itself made me suspicious. R.I.P. Malcolm." Another added, "This is the first time I'm hearing the wife was at the hotel. It's been said she went to get food. Too many stories going around to hide the truth is all I know at this point." These points of view reflect a growing frustration, not just with the lack of concrete and fulfilling answers, but with how fast official reports seem to wrap up. In the world of celebrity deaths, autopsies and toxicology results usually drag out for weeks, sometimes months. But here, the turnaround was lightning fast, which for many only fed the idea that something was being kept under wraps. And when key details like where the wife was or what she was doing start shifting depending on who's telling the story, it's no surprise people start connecting dots, even if those dots are miles apart. Because at the end of the day, the people who knew him best, family, friends, co-stars like Bill Cosby, Eddie Griffin, and Tracy Ellis Ross, weren't speaking about conspiracies. They were speaking about laughter, kindness, and a man whose presence left people better than he found them. And maybe that's the real story here. Not the theories, not the speculation, but the truth that every life, no matter how famous, is more than the way it ended. And as Pamela said, if you keep his spirit near, you keep his peace, love, and light alive. So yes, the internet can debate forever, but the people who held him in life and let him go in peace already know the answer. Undercurrents can drown anyone, even a good swimmer. It doesn't matter how fit you are, how principled you are, or how strong you are. If you are surfing against a rip current you can't see, you could always get pulled under. Malcolm-Jamal Warner battled against a current far more dangerous than any riptide. Regardless of how Malcolm perished, he was a force of nature, a man who lived and died on his own terms. And in the end, it was his time. Every dog has its day, and it was his. The bold autopsy report knew the truth. And now so do we. Now I want to hear from y'all. Are you leaning towards the official story, or do you think Jaguar rights claims might hold some water? Don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments below.